There's some bad health news today for former President Joe Biden with diagnosis of a nasty form of prostate cancer. So we wish him well in dealing with that illness as he and his family consider their treatment options. President Donald Trump has sent him best wishes. This difficult personal news comes just as the debate about Biden's presidency has been heating up with the release of a new book. Called Original Sin, the book is co-authored by Washington television journalists Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper, and it claims to probe President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. Now, this is a staggering case of hindsight by these journalists. This is the Washington media cabal trying to win credit now for airing what they plainly denied, pretended away and covered up for almost the entirety of Biden's presidency. I mean, let's just point out here that some of us from the other side of the world could see Biden's future from the outset. You didn't have to be a clairvoyant. The White House, in the meantime, is actually saying that Biden will run again in 2024 because they have to say that. If they don't say that, they make him a lamed-up president when he's less than a year into the job. Stupid situation. But obviously, if Biden runs again, I mean, I'll win the Brownlow. That's how likely it is. The US looks like being rudderless for the next 3 years, which should worry all of us, no matter who we support. And don't say we didn't warn you on this show. I told you last year that Biden was running the weekend at Bernie's campaign. Tragically, now it's the weekend at Bernie's presidency. Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was 4 years ago. And we all know what we saw in the months and the years afterwards.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to... Anyway, the idea that... And Joan Shingang, I'm going to pronounce it, Shanga. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him signed the PAC Act into law.
He had tied that fall. He decided to look. I shouldn't get into this.
We had some laughs, sure, but in the main, this stuff was excruciating. And deep into the actual election year, last year, the White House was insisting that Biden would run again.
I didn't admit your colleague. Young people in Northern Ireland represent the great peace dividend of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement.
Who knows what he said? You can go to the White House website. No doubt they'll have his speech there. You can decipher it better there. Instead of just running these media concoctions against Trump, wouldn't the Democrats and the left be better off finding a better candidate for the Democrats? But no, they kept going. And then we saw that disastrous debate performance last June.
Initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
And even then, there were people still defending Biden. They've pretended that Joe Biden is up to the job. The president clearly is not up to the job and certainly isn't up to doing it for another 4 years. And while this has been clear for at least 3 years to anyone paying attention, the Democrats and their media mates have spun an alternative narrative. They've denied the truth and they've misled the people backing Biden in for a second term. Yeah, that's what's happened. The Washington media, the mainstream media in the US, they rode shotgun for Biden and they tried to pretend not only that he was okay, that he was a functioning president, but that he could go around again. It was madness.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
This guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
Yeah, apparently it was the Biden critics, people like you and me. We were the ones apparently dealing in an alternative reality. It's been clear since his first year in the Oval Office that Biden could not run again, and I've said that clearly since that first year. Reality will kick in eventually, of course, but so much damage is being done while the administration tries to hold reality at bay. Well, as we all know, Biden finally withdrew from the race, finally confronted reality, and then they were stuck with Kamala Harris, who was a dud, of course, whereas if he'd withdrawn earlier, perhaps the Democrats might have found a better candidate. Who knows? But the point here is this book by Tapper and his mate. How is it that they get to tell the story now? This is the story that they failed to tell the public for 4 years while Biden was president.
I think some of the criticism is fair, to be honest, of me. Certainly, I'm not going to speak for anybody else. But knowing then what I know now, I look back at my coverage during the Biden years, and I did cover some of these issues, but not enough. I look back on it with humility.
With humility? This bloke is going to make a fast buck now, selling the story that he and his colleagues refused to report when it mattered. The real story here is not deception from the White House or denial from Biden himself. The real story is the failure of the free press, the collusion of the White House press corps, the willing con job by the Fourth Estate, pretending to their audiences that what they wanted to be true was in fact true, instead of revealing the facts that were in plain view. Look, we can all kind of forgive Biden. He wanted to go on and we understand why. But how can we forgive the media for averting their eyes and spreading falsehoods? How can they expect to be trusted again?